Hey guys, first off, just want to say thanks for welcoming me to talk. I think it's an awesome idea that you're starting a business club on campus. I think it'll be a great resource getting to hear different people's experiences and being able to learn from it. Um, so, about me, my name is Jake Pickett. I graduated from Laguna Hills High School in 2014, so I was in the same place that you were about 4 or 5 years ago. While I was in high school, I played basketball for 4 years, I played baseball for two, and I played volleyball for two. I was also pretty involved in academics. I took about as many AP classes as I could. I love math and science, so anything along those lines have always intrigued me. And while I was there, I just took advantage of the classes I could take. Looking back on it, I don't know, have learned some things, I guess. I'm so thankful for doing the sports that I did when I was in high school. I definitely learned a lot from it. Just learning how to interact with people, learning how to work in teams and work in groups. There's one thing about going home and doing homework and getting straight A's and doing well in tests, and that'll get you far, but it won't get you far enough in life. A lot of what is important is being able to interact with people and work well with people. Once you actually get into the real world and in college, most of what you're doing is going to be working in teams. You're not going to be just sitting behind a desk or working on your own all the time. So in high school, joined a sports team. I was on basketball for 4 years, and just learning to work with people improved my social skills a ton. Just being able to interact and have those experiences to go off of has helped me. So whether you're into sports or just joining another club, I definitely recommend getting involved in some way. It's huge and pays dividends in the end. I was also involved in tutoring in high school, and so I don't know. Take advantage of the time while you can. There's plenty of ways you can get involved, plenty of ways you can boost your resume for college. Good luck getting into college these days. It just gets tougher year after year. But I'm sure you guys that are in this club seem pretty motivated to learn about business or do whatever. So do your best and you'll be good. So after high school, I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So I applied to Cal Poly, early decision, so I knew that I wanted to go there, and luckily I got in. So went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, declared computer engineering as my major. I later switched to software engineering, so basically computer science or coding for all intents and purposes. Um, and going into college, I was pretty sure that that's what I want to major in. But before I actually started school, I ended up taking a class at a local community college just to make sure that I wanted to major in computer science. It's hard to know as a senior in high school what you want to do for the rest of your life, and it's really hard to know what major to declare. So honestly, just trying something out and taking advantage of the resources that you have is huge. After I took this computer science class, I enjoyed it. I liked it, so I knew it would be a good fit to start out in software engineering and be programming. So for me, I wasn't totally sure. I took a guess based on I like logic, I like thinking through puzzles. So it worked out well for me, and I like doing it, but it is hard to know. And honestly, just trying different things, taking different classes in college, and just learning what you can in different areas as soon as you can so you don't waste your time there is important. So I majored in software engineering. I graduated in 4 years from school. So I guess starting out, in the first, I think it was the third week of school, there was a career fair coming up. And my brother and a couple other people had told me, oh, just go to the career fair while it doesn't matter. As somebody who's 3 weeks into school, you really have nothing, or you really have no idea what's going on. So I took their advice. I dressed up, got a resume together, printed out a resume, showed up to this career fair. At Cal Poly, there was one specifically for software engineering and computer science, so it was all companies that I was interested in, which was nice. But showing up for the first time, it's intimidating. There's people in the industry, there's adults, there's people who are going to ask you questions and interview you. And honestly, for the first 15 minutes, I probably just walked around and was pretty scared to go up and talk to anybody. But finally, I got a little more used to it. I went up and talked to some people. What did I say? I don't even really remember. It was basically, hey, I'm majoring in software engineering. I'm really passionate about it. Even though I'm a first year, I'm just looking for areas to grow and learn, basically making up what you can because you don't have much experience at that point, and just hoping that somebody will throw you a bone and that you'll get something. So, not a whole lot. I guess in the moment, I didn't think that a whole lot came from it, but I'm really happy that I went because I was able to experience that environment before it really mattered. As somebody who just started college, I wasn't expecting to get anything at all. But fast forward about 2 or 3 weeks, I got an email from one of the companies that I talked to. It was PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, and they had an internship program, and we're looking for people to apply online and basically do what I'm doing right now and do an interview over the computer on Skype, but with nobody on the other end, and basically just answering questions that were recorded. It was a pretty weird experience, but I figured, what the heck, what do I have to lose? I might as well try. So I did the interview. It took 20-30 minutes of my time, dressed up in a nice collared shirt in my dorm room, and did it. Wasn't expecting anything, and then a couple weeks later got an email basically saying that I had an internship offer, which to me was insane. That after talking to only like one person at the career fair and then doing one like 30-minute interview online, that I got an offer. But I was not going to pass that up. So I went to San Francisco that summer and I worked up there. Keep in mind, I'm from Southern California originally, so this is the first time that I was going to live away from home and away from school and not go back and see all my friends after my first year. It was definitely a little weird being one of the few people I knew that wasn't going to be home for the summer, but looking back on it, paid off dividends. It was huge. So having one internship on your resume or just any experience opened the doors for me in the future. After that, any other career fair I went to in the future, I could just go up to somebody and say, hey, I'm a software engineering major. I've had an internship before. I have experience. This is what I like. This is what I want to do. Can you tell me a little bit more about what your company does and has to offer? And just saying that I had an internship or I had experience in the field in some way made them listen to me. As a first year going in, saying no, I have no experience, or even people I knew as sophomores and juniors who didn't have experience, it's hard for anybody to really take you seriously. So getting that first opportunity to get some experience is huge. And once you get that first opportunity, take it. Whatever it is, it'll open the door in the future just to have something on your resume or have something to base off of so that you can get more experience in the future. So one tip of advice I have from that is go to the career fair. It's different at every school, but at Cal Poly, there's 3 career fairs a year. There's one in fall, winter, and spring. And go to the first one you can. It doesn't hurt. You could get rejected every single time, but it just opens up the door to, you never know what's going to happen. And also, it doesn't matter at that point. And that'll just prepare you in the future for when it actually does matter. So that was something that paid off entirely for me. It's going to be a scary experience. I remember talking to a couple companies, and they would say words that I had zero idea what they were. One of them asked me if I preferred front end or back end more, and I had no idea what either of those were. So I made up an answer and went with it, and afterwards felt terrible about the conversation, but it was okay because looking back on it now, the stress I had in the moment was so worth what came from it in the future. So that was one tip, was just going to the career fair, just getting experience while you can. Another thing, what people look for in software engineering, I guess. So this will be a little more catered to software engineering or like the technical field instead of just business in general. So in software engineering, they're really looking for experience or passion about computer science. And one of the things that shows that is personal projects. So working on just something on the side, something outside of class, something you're interested in, whether it's writing like a little web application or writing like a little smartphone application, just something to show that you enjoy what you're doing and that you made an effort to do something outside of the classroom is huge. So having that on your resume is big in terms of software engineering, computer science field. In other majors, it's not something you can necessarily do too easily, but that's just what my experience has been. At Cal Poly, I Loved it there. Guess I'll give a little pitch for the school. Their motto is learn by doing, and so basically you just kind of get thrown into it from the beginning. You start out in major classes, you start out learning how to program, you start out with learning technical skills that are big for what you'll do in the future, which is a lot different than a lot of the UCs and a lot of private schools where a lot of it is theoretical. Looking back on it now, and just from the people I've talked to over the years and people I've kind of know in the industry, a lot of people love to hire out of Cal Poly just because we know how to program. Like in my case, we know how to code. In other majors, people actually have real world experience or stepping into the job don't have to be trained for 3 months. They can hop in and know what to do. Whereas people from other schools, these companies have found they have to train a lot more. So, I personally love Cal Poly. I got a job out of there. I guess I'm going ahead a little bit. So, at Cal Poly, I went to the career fair. After my first year, I had an internship at Pacific Gas and Electric. After my second year, I had an internship at GoDaddy. After my third year, I had an internship at Microsoft. And then after I graduated, I got a full-time offer at Microsoft, and that's where I work now. So I had huge opportunities to get internships. They were awesome. Honestly, I think internships are the most beneficial thing you can do as a student in college. I would say that in a 3-month internship over the summer, I learned probably the same or even more than I would in 9 months of school. Just working for 8 hours a day for 3 months is an insane amount of time that you have to learn and to get knowledge from other people. So coming back to school after an internship after my freshman year, I felt like I knew a lot more than other people who hadn't done anything after their freshman year. Not saying that everybody will be able to get an internship or be able to do something, but getting that internship experience, I learned a ton. So that's kind of one of the recurring themes is get an internship or just put yourself out there, find an opportunity to work on something you enjoy, or just find something you're passionate about. Because really, if you're passionate about it, you'll want to work on it. And if you want to work on it, you will get work done and enjoy what you're doing. And then you'll also know that you're in the right major. And for me, I enjoy computer science. I enjoy programming. It's a lot of sitting behind a computer, but also in the real world, it's working in teams too. So it's a lot of social skills. It's a lot of interacting with people. It's a lot of collaborating on ideas, figuring out what the problem is, solving it together. And it's not just sitting behind a computer all day. So find out what you want to do. And at school, join a club, see if you like it. It won't hurt. If you hate it, quit. Find another one. But just get involved in some way that you can. Let's see. What else? In school, I also was part of the triathlon club team at Cal Poly. Really random. I've always been active and loved sports, and mostly team sports. And then going to school, somebody I knew was on the triathlon club team and invited me to come out to a run practice. Yeah, triathlon, for those of you who don't know, is swimming, biking, and running, which I didn't know either going out to the first practice. But I ended up loving the people there. I found it a good way to stay in shape and get to know other people. So I ended up joining the team, got pretty committed to it, and ended up doing that for the next 4 years of school. It was a great way to get to know people, just kind of have a community, people to hang out with. So I enjoyed that. Never really thought that I would, looking back, never thought that I would join a triathlon club team. Very random, but got super involved. I ended up being the president of it my junior year, and so I led a team of, we had 120 registered members. It was the biggest club team on campus, and an awesome experience. Just being able to lead that big of a group of people teaches you a lot about how to interact with everyone. It really shows you the necessity for understanding how people think and understanding how to lead and understanding what it takes to get people to achieve their best. One of the things I really learned is there's different styles of leadership. This, I guess, is getting more into the business aspect of it. So, in leadership, there's more like hands-on, more like checking in, like the side of like checking in, making sure that everybody's doing their job, and being very like micromanagerial. So like being very micromanaging is one side of the spectrum, and then the other side of the spectrum is completely like laid back, let everybody do what they're supposed to do, and just assume that they're doing their job well. What I found is it's really a balance of figuring out which people need that direction and need kind of that almost micromanaging side of things to give them the task to do and make sure that they're focused. And then other people do way better if you just if you just connect with them and make sure that they know what to do and then leave it up to them. So a lot of what I learned of being president of a team, and I was directly in charge of about 15 other people who helped lead the team, was that a lot of people worked well if they knew what they were doing. I didn't have to interact with them a whole lot on the day-to-day tasks that they had to do, but as long as I knew that they knew the bigger picture and that they knew what to get done, then they'd be successful. It also happened that I had that assumption about one or two people who that style of leadership didn't work too well with them. And so it turned into I did have to check in more on what they were doing and how to make sure that they knew tasks to get done. So I guess what I really learned was that there's different styles of management, and different people work well or react better to these different styles. There's not really a one size that fits all. Some people you can trust, and okay, I guess you can trust a lot of people and it doesn't totally matter on the management style, but some people, if you give them a task, they'll get it done. They don't really need you to check in on them. And other people, just giving them that little nudge or telling them what to do or just checking up on them and seeing how they're doing is way more effective for them. So being in that president role on the team, I learned a ton just about how to manage people, how to work with people. I definitely had some lessons where I screwed up. There was definitely times where I learned a lot. One example was there was a tough decision or situation that I made, and I sent an email out to the people who, I guess, the decision affected, and it didn't go over too well. Afterwards, I ended up talking to every person, and after I talked to them in person, I realized, or I guess we became more on the same page of why I made the decision I did. But sending an email in the first place just totally misconstrued what I was going for, and people were pretty angry at me. But after talking to everyone, they understood my side of things more. So I guess that's another lesson I learned, was that if you have something that's important, don't send a text message, don't call them on the phone, don't send an email, talk to them in person. Nothing beats a face-to-face interaction and seeing what your emotions actually say about your decision and what you're actually thinking. Whereas trying to write something down or write a document or a letter or an email just gets misconstrued way too easily. All right. In school, I also... Let's see. I guess those were kind of the main things at school. I was a software engineering major. I was on the triathlon club team. And then from the internships that I got, I ended up getting my full-time job. So with getting a full-time job, and getting these internships as well, you have to go through an interview process. So the interview process looks different for all majors, for the most part. For computer science and software engineering, it looks a little bit different than most. A typical interview process consists of usually 4 to 5 rounds, so it takes a while. For example, the interview process that I had for when I got my GoDaddy internship was I talked to them at the career fair. So I talked to a person for probably 10-15 minutes, and after we talked about my resume and my experience before, he offered me to have a 30-minute in-person interview on campus that day. So later that day, came back, had a 30-minute in-person interview with someone, talked to them about my experience, my resume again, and after that, I made it to the next round. And in the next round, I had a phone call where I had to talk to somebody on the phone for 45 minutes while I was on my computer, basically with a keyboard programming. So for those 45 minutes, somebody on the other end of the line asked me a programming question, and I had to think through what the answer was while programming it on a shared screen that they could see. And so they could see my thought process through the question while also being able to come to the right conclusion and find the right answer to this problem. One of the most stressful types of interviews I can think of. So it's not easy. After I passed that 45-minute interview, I had another 45-minute interview on the phone, which was the same thing, where they were asking me a technical question, and I had to answer that technical question while coding it on my computer while they were watching and listening to me. And so after that, I finally got an internship offer. So that was basically 4 rounds just for an internship. Full-time jobs can be that much and more. For, I guess, a typical computer science interview process for one of the bigger companies like Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, is typically a first round interview, either in person on campus of like 30 minutes, kind of just talking about your resume. Then it's typically one phone interview of 45 minutes where you have to program on the other side, another interview of 45 minutes where you have to program on the other side, and then typically they'll fly you out to wherever that company is so that you can have 4 to 5 hours of in-person interviews. It's a lot. I'm not going to lie. It takes up a lot of time. They really want to see that the candidate knows what they're doing. And the only way that you get better at these interviews is by doing more of them. So it's not uncommon to fail an interview. I failed several internship interviews over the course of several years. Some of them were very embarrassing, to be completely honest. But that's just how it goes. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And then I ended up, from my internship with Microsoft, got a full-time offer from them, and that's where I work now. Going back to interviews for software engineering, a book that I'd highly recommend for anybody that's looking into computer science in the future. It's called Cracking the Coding Interview. It basically has all the basics that you need in order to pass an interview and do well on it. So if you're interested in that field at all, that's a great book. So now I guess I work at Microsoft as a full-time software engineer. I just started a couple months ago, so I'm still learning a ton, but it's been an awesome experience so far. I love the people I work with, which to me has been the most important thing. I never really understood that who I worked with would be the most important factor to me in what job I took. But I've realized when you go to work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you've got to enjoy coming to work. If you don't like seeing the people, or you have a grudge against people that you're going to work with, you're going to hate it. And hating going to work would not be fun. So honestly, my favorite part of going to work every day is just seeing the people that I get to work with and interact with. We have a team of 8. We work on problems, we solve stuff together, we have meetings, we collaborate, and it's not just sitting behind a computer all day. So what I've really learned is that it's important that you like what you're doing and you like the people that you're working with as well. And also with the people that you're working with, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. Everyone on my team is incredibly smart, and in these 2 months I have learned a ton. Just surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me and listening to the conversations they have and being lost half the time, to be completely honest, but asking questions has been huge. Asking questions is how you're going to get smarter. At first, it might seem somewhat embarrassing that you have to ask these questions or that you don't know what they're talking about, but after you just keep asking questions, you're just going to get that much smarter. And if you never ask questions, you're not really going to grow, or you're just going to grow at such a decelerated pace that you aren't taking advantage of the resources that you really have. So, I'd say that who you work with is really important. Make sure you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. I guess that goes for all aspects of life, whether it's work, whether it's people in your classes, whether it's teachers, whether it's people you're hanging out with. somebody that'll influence you to grow in the correct direction, somebody that'll make you smarter, somebody that'll push you in an area that you wouldn't do by yourself, but that is beneficial to yourself, is a great way to just grow as a person. Let's see. So I guess that's kind of me in my high school years, college years, and now in working. I guess apart from the school and work aspects, this past summer I don't know, read a few books and just kind of took more of a deeper look into goal setting and life and just being successful in what you do, which is something that I'd never really done. Most of the things I'd done, I'd kind of just done by chance or followed somebody that had come before me or just kind of taken advice here and there and done it. And I feel really lucky and blessed to end up where I am. But I also, going through high school, didn't really think about it a whole lot. It just kind of happened and I ended up here. But I really took a deeper look this summer into what it takes to be successful. And one of the books that I really liked, it's called Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And it basically just talks about all the little things that you do add up and compound to have huge effects in the future. It's not the huge things that you do, it's what you do on a day-to-day basis, just those little habits that you won't notice week in, week out. You probably won't even notice after a month or two, but after years, it just builds upon each other and has extraordinary results. If you're looking for a book, I'd highly recommend Compound Effect. If you hear me and say, I hate reading, I despise reading, I'm not going to read, oh, believe me, I was in the same spot as you when I was in high school. I did not like reading any of the books in English class, or I would never read for fun. But this summer I started reading again, and people who are successful read. Reading grows your brain, makes you smarter. There's so many benefits to reading that even though I despised it, I started to like it again. And I also had some free time when I wasn't in school, so I guess that was another part to it. But that was one of the books I read, was Compound Effect. I'd highly recommend it. It, I don't know, kind of gave me some drive and some passion to figure out what are these little things that you can do day in and day out to make yourself better and to set yourself up for success. And they're things that you won't see a difference in a week or two, but knowing that long-term outcome and seeing the results in these stories in the book of people who have done this and where they've ended up is awesome. It's so cool. Along with that, a podcast that I've been listening to recently is called Impact Theory by Tom Bilyeu. It's a really cool podcast. It kind of goes along the same lines of what you do and what you do every day and all the little things that you do can put you ahead, can make you successful and get you to where you want to be in life. So Tom Bilyeu, he's the host of the podcast. Basically, he didn't have a privileged background or a privileged upbringing. He wasn't very smart. He was just an average guy. He now is the CEO of Quest Nutrition, which is a $1 billion company. And basically he talks about, he took what, he basically just did the little things. He had his mindset on a goal and he just kept cutting away at that goal and just knew that if he kept doing these little things that he would end up being successful. And sure enough, he is. So his podcast has a lot of people on the show that basically go through their stories of they didn't have an awesome background, they weren't that gifted, but just the hard work that they put in has gotten them to be successful and where they are today. And it's just a really cool story to hear of all these people who, you don't have to grow up being the smartest person or the richest person or know the most people or have the best background, but just it's on you of where you're going to end up in life. And it's on you of whether you're going to be successful or not. And hearing these people's stories is inspirational. It makes me want to do more. It makes me want to be the best person I can be. So if you're looking for a good podcast, I'd recommend it. Once again, when I was in high school, I thought that podcasts were lame. Now I love podcasts, so just take that with a grain of salt too. Going along with That another thing that I've recently taken up is setting goals. Like I said, I kind of just stumbled upon where I ended up in life at the moment, and looking into the future, I don't really have anything. Like in high school, it was, oh, I got to get good grades so I get to college. College, it's, oh, I got to get good grades and do this and that so that I get a job. And then once you have a job, you're in the point where, okay, I have a job. I want to get that promotion. I want to move jobs. It's not as clear. There isn't a super defined path once you start working in the real world. So I've gotten into setting goals, basically just 6-month goals, year goals, and then also like 5-10 year goals, just long term. So it just gets you thinking about where you want to end up and what you want to do. Goals are important just because they get you thinking. The more that you think about something, the more likely you are to do that. If you're thinking every day that, oh, I want to go play video games and I just want to go home and sit on the couch, then if you're thinking that, yeah, you're going to do that. If you set a goal saying that in a year you want to run a 5.5 minute mile, I don't know, let's say, and so that's the goal and you have that on your mind, well, if you're thinking about that a lot and you're thinking about that goal, you're probably going to be more motivated to go out and run instead of just sitting on the couch when you get home. So there's several studies of people who set goals and actually think about their goals are way more successful in life. One study I've heard, I can't quote it, and so I'm probably going to misquote it, and I apologize, but it's basically at, I think it was Harvard, they did a study where part of the people did not set goals, part of the people set goals, and then part of the people set goals and took actionable steps in order to achieve those goals. And the results were staggering. I can't tell you off the top of my head what the exact percentages of it were, but basically the people who set goals and took actionable steps in order to do them ended up making 10 times more money than the people who didn't set goals, or than the people who set goals, and something like 100 times more money than the people who didn't set goals. I don't know. It was huge. Not saying that money is the only successful factor in life, that the goal of life is to get money, but it's one measure of success. So basically what I'm saying is that goals, I find, are important. I've really only done it for the past 4 or 5 months, and it's been cool to just see what you think about is really what you'll do more and more on a day-to-day basis. What I do is I write the goals down. I don't really look at it for a few months, but most mornings, at least I'll try, is just write down 5 things I'm thankful for and 5 things I want to achieve that day. Just little basic things. I'm thankful for my roommates. I'm thankful for the coworkers I have at work. I'm thankful for the opportunity I have to do software engineering. And then just intentions of, I want to ask more questions today. I want to learn this skill. I want to send a text of encouragement to this person. Just easy things that kind of get your mind started off on that direction of what you want to do for the day. And if you're thinking about it, you are more likely to do it. Let's see, that I'd say is kind of what I've been thinking about and doing in the past couple months, is just more focused on goals and where I want to end up in the future, and just thinking about it and being more intentional has been really, really impactful and really an awesome experience. And it doesn't have to be just in business or in school, even just friendships and relationships, thinking about how you can be more intentional with friendships and invite people to things or just be encouraging. It really expands into all areas of your life. So I guess looking back, the key takeaways I'd have for, I guess, everything is high school. Just get involved in some group. Your social interactions really are what you're going to be doing most likely in the future. You're going to be working with people, and learning how to work well with people is huge. That'll be in the real world. That'll be in group projects in college. It's all the time. College, go to career fairs. get to know people. Your professors can be huge resources. You, yeah, I don't know. Internships were awesome for me, but it looks different for everyone. So, and then working now, I guess looking back, just, yeah, I don't know. School has set me up to where I am today. But now I'm really focused on what I can do to reach that next step of like getting a promotion, or I guess 5 to 10 years in the future, I want to get into management. I want to work with people. I enjoy interacting with people as much as I like software engineering and coding on a day-to-day basis and sitting behind a computer. I'd much rather interact with people. So that's one of my goals, is to end up being a manager. So I have some steps to make that happen, and I'm sure that it will happen, because now, after what I've read and listened to in podcasts and just talked to people, I have a much better grasp of what it takes, and that it's really on you in order to make it happen. So last words of wisdom is just take advantage of it. It's on you if you want to do well in school, if you want to do well in life, if you want to be a better friend, be a better student, be a better business person. So that's my story about me. That's where I was in high school, college, and now. I'm happy to talk to any of you. My email, I'm sure Miles can give it out to you, is jakepickett67@gmail.com. So it's JAKEPICKETT67@gmail.com. Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions. If you have questions about life, have questions about computer science, software engineering, picking a major, picking a college, about any of the books or podcasts I mentioned, or what it looks like to work at Microsoft or one of these big companies, I'm happy to talk. Happy to email back and forth. Happy to send me a text after that gets through. Whatever it is. I love going to Laguna Hills, so love to support in any way that I can. I think that's it for me. Once again, thanks for reaching out and asking me to share kind of what it's been like to be a professional coming from Laguna Hills, and appreciate the opportunity. And I'm impressed that you guys are doing a business club. I think it's awesome. I think it's a great way to get a step ahead of everyone else and to learn and just see what's out there and set yourselves up for a good future. So appreciate it, and as always, go Hawks.